Hi, it's Allie Jordan. Welcome to Secrets to Scale, our look at strategies that can help drive growth for independent RIAs. My guest today is John Yackel, CEO and co-founder of Trucendent. Trucendent was created to help financial advisors and families build trust in a digital, streamlined onboarding experience. John, I'm so glad to have you on today. Welcome.
Thanks, Allie. Great to see you. Pleasure to be here today.
So Trucendent's obviously brand new. We're so excited about it. I want the advisors out there to really get a feel for why you guys created Trucendent and how it's going to help them in their practices.
Absolutely. So the current estate planning offerings used by financial advisors today, it's flat out broken. So we decided to start a new company to simplify the estate planning process, and more importantly, the actual implementation of the plans. To have a single integrated process and workflow is more important than ever as advisors see their client base age, geographically expand, moving to new states. This poses many business issues, clearly scale issues that I think we can talk about today. So, we're really on this big precipice of the largest intergenerational wealth transfer in history. And investors made it really clear they want their financial advisor, their RIA, to address that wealth transfer process with them more proactively. So most people say, why now? You're in the midst of a pandemic. Why start the company now? Well, the reality is given that an estimated 83% of all assets are owned today by 50-year-olds plus, and most of the heirs of those relationships do not end up with the parent's financial advisor, and the end heir tends to end that relationship and move on. So we feel right now is a phenomenal opportunity to help advisors engage in this ever important type of intergenerational wealth transfer planning process.
I think that's so important, just to reiterate that 83% of generational wealth is with advisors above 50 years old, and what's to come. I know a lot of the things we all talk about is preparing for that transfer of wealth. And so what you guys have created is really going to be a huge need, and I hope advisors are paying attention. Obviously we deal a lot in the RIA space in particular, and we've always seen, they really don't have a great trust offering or trust solution. A lot of it's very reactive. They don't really know who to use. So talk about, what is the proactiveness that you guys are trying to solve for, and how is it really going to benefit the RIAs in particular that we work with?
Well, Allie, huge question, very meaningful one too, around the benefit to the advisor. I think ultimately we'll talk a little bit about, the benefit to the advisor, but also we can't lose sight of the benefit to the end investors and families, and obviously the wealth that is currently been created that's out there and how to pass it appropriately. So I think advisors are going to benefit significantly in many different ways, offering more meaningful services to their clients, increase in assets, protecting existing relationships, elevating their practice to really a higher level of planning in general. So more importantly, I think the end client benefits the most because they actually get to the point for their loved ones, their family, to really get control of their overall estate. I think a big misconception for many advisors is that this is only meant for the uber wealthy, the $5 million net worth and above. We endeavor very clearly here to bring affordable, high quality estate planning through the financial advisor in an affordable way to all households. So when you really look at the RIA, we've got a new client that came on board. I love his quote. He had emailed it in about, what's the benefit to you? And he put it this way. He goes, the best way to nurture beneficiary relationships while also fulfilling your role as a holistic wealth manager is to help your clients plan for the transfer of their wealth. Doing so will give you the opportunity to learn about extended family members, develop relationships with them, and cultivate the trust required to retain those assets, while also opening new asset pool opportunities with their other family members. And I couldn't have put it any better because it really hits all those things, Allie. And but which is interesting is adoption by advisors for this solution is still really low. And what I think when we ask advisors why, it tends to come back that there's a significant amount of friction in the process. They find it difficult to have the conversation with the client. They find it very difficult to leverage the professionals in that fiduciary network around the accountants, the attorneys, and outside trustees, and bring that together in a cohesive way. So there's really two types of advisors we're running into today, ones that have dabbled in the space and others that have really kind of put it core into their offering. Both, though, are struggling with scale and how to get this across their entire business and all of their families in a very efficient way. So we, our approach, that I think we can chat a little bit about scale and our opinion of this. Advisors often do great planning, and we often see that. And what happens, though, is many of the plans don't fully get implemented because of that friction I mentioned and a poor experience and a lack of scale they've had. So we've endeavored to really remove that friction, provide an integrated approach, and put the advisor in control of the process through three simple elements. One is you have to have the technology integrated to where the advisor does business today and provide the requisite documentation and ongoing collaboration of multiple professionals. Second, we had to create and vet out a national lineup of independent estate planning attorneys, and then ultimately bring access to an advisor-focused administrative trustee services, but still allow the advisor to be in the driver's seat of the relationship. That is really critical as we look at this, because the advisor, the attorney, the accountant, and the trustee need to operate in a cohesive and collaborative environment, not only in a technology standpoint, but in the planning process to improve those outcomes for the end client. And that's what we're working on today.
Yeah, I think a couple of things that you mentioned there. A, being focused on the end client, right? That's why this all was created, is to be able to provide a better experience for that end client. And you all then giving those tools to the advisor to really be able to be kind of the quarterback per se of that entire process. So I think, what we've seen with some of the other things out there, like lending, for instance, right? Advisors, they weren't doing a lot of lending either. And so really kind of educating and putting out there why you want to do that. You're looking at the whole picture for the client. That's what I'm most excited about Trucendent. It's just another way for advisors to really be able to provide that holistic picture for those end clients that we work with.
Well, Allie, what I love about the holistic approach, instead of us looking at Trucendent as an estate planning and trust offering, we usually take it to a little bit of a higher level, to that holistic, just planning in general. When you're doing great planning, you are going to be looking at lending. You are going to be looking at insurance and life insurance and annuity guaranteed type of income. But you start to take a look at asset location, asset registration, wills, power of attorney. And we all know as advisors and as planners how important all of that is. But as you know better than I do, advisors trying to get that to market in a multidisciplinary way and bring all these complex capabilities to their clients requires a significant amount of integration and commitment to professional outside resources. What I really believe in, though, is the only way to truly scale this business is that you have to combine the technology with the outside professionals led by the financial advisor in providing the most comprehensive fiduciary advice to the end investor. Otherwise, this starts to really unravel and break apart, and the experience becomes poor. And I just think that the timing right now is better than ever before, because a common misconception is that I don't have enough wealth, so I don't need an estate plan. The reality is every one of us, whether you're an individual or married in a family network, you need to have control of your overall wealth that you've created, your core values and ethics and beliefs, and make sure you get to control how that gets handled upon other incapacitation or death, and not have the state by which you live control that. Because I don't think many people really want the government or the individual state that they live in control the disposition of their assets. They typically want their family to be in complete control of that and retain as much as possible.
Yeah, it's all so relevant. And another piece that you've talked about a lot today is that estate planning attorney, right? So we obviously all work with advisors all across the country. A lot of times, there's estate planning attorneys that they're comfortable with. Talk about how they fit into the picture here with using Trucendent services, what that process, that breakdown looks like.
Absolutely. Thanks for catching that, because I really look at the overall value chain of advice. While the advisor themselves is going to be at the core of providing the overall comprehensive advice, when you get to estate planning, most advisors, if they're in this space, tend to refer out to a local attorney that they may know. But the question we always have is, have they really vetted the capabilities of that attorney, and specifically within the trust and estate law within their state? So what we endeavored to do is we engaged an outside third-party estate planning law firm, worked very closely with them on identifying quantitative and qualitative characteristics, and started to build a national independent network of the best attorneys. And our platform today is currently recommending 24 different type of trusts that may be available or appropriate for a particular plan. And that's going to be in all 50 states. So what we knew we needed was to get those top attorneys available for the advisor and the end investor, and hold them to specific standards of care. So what will happen today is advisors will often refer that out to an estate planning attorney, and then the collaboration kind of ends. It's just been handed off. What we've done is we've actually brought the attorney and the advisor together on a collaborative platform, and a standard by which the turnaround time for specific documentation and recommendation occurs. At the end of the day, we're not going to be practicing law, nor should the financial advisor. That is the role of the estate planning attorney. And the attorneys have been really rolling their sleeves up, working with us, Allie, because what they've always looked to handle themselves is a higher fidelity of information, whether it's from the financial plan and or data aggregation, coming to them in a consistent, unified manner, so that they can pour over the specific documents, goals, and objectives of the individual or family from the advisor, and really start to render the best possible advice. So I really look at what we've done here is extending that network of professional counsel and fiduciaries for the advisor, but do it in a manner that is consistent, it's integrated in a collaborative nature on the platform. And I will tell you, without having these estate planning attorneys engaged in our offering and service for the advisor and the investor, I think we would have a very difficult time in adoption. Now, many advisors that are already working with an attorney today, or the end investor is, we certainly can accommodate and work with them, and that is often the case. But most advisors actually lean in and want to actually get independent review from our network of attorneys that we've been able to bring to the table. And that tends to be something that is very well received by not only the advisor, but the end investors would like to be able to also get access to them as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, not having to do that diligence and know, okay, what does this estate planning attorney actually know? What are their expertise? You guys have done that for them. And then again, really putting that collaboration where the advisor is a part of those discussions and decision-making with the estate planning attorney and the end investor versus kind of handing it off. I think that's going to be huge for advisors, especially those that have just been dabbling in this space that aren't as familiar with the processes. So being able to stay kind of in control is really going to be beneficial to them to understand why this is important as that generational wealth continues.
Well said. I think the addition of the attorney on top of the advice from the advisor, and then ultimately coupled with an independent corporate fiduciary handling the trust administrative services, being a corporate trustee to help the family manage that actual trust account moving forward, is really critical, because oftentimes advisors will appoint a family member as an independent trustee. And there's a lot of challenges with that, because that role of providing trust administrative services is a professional fiduciary service that is required. And there's a lot of duties that go along with that and responsibilities. We've been advocating, and we've very similar to the attorney network, went out and handled a pretty significant RFP and looked at advisor-focused trust administrative providers and brought 3 of them to our overall platform and network for financial advisors. So financial advisors maintain control of the relationship, of the portfolio, and continue to manage that for the family. But then they start to use our platform to collaborate and bring that attorney and that corporate fiduciary for trust administrative services together in a cohesive way. And I think ultimately what we'll handle here, Allie, is the dabblers will start to incorporate this as core to their business. And the ones that have been doing this already and have a pretty large business will now say, we haven't been able to scale this before and handle this for all of our clients efficiently. So we can do this for more clients, go downstream in total net worth, and really provide a valuable service to all of their clients.
Yeah, I think, and that leads us into what our last question is, but I think being able to offer that out to all of your clients is what's going to be so appealing to those advisors. So I personally really appreciate what you guys are doing. So our last question that we ask all of our guests, and we talked about this a lot already today, is scale. But what's your number one tip for an advisor looking to scale their business?
Well, what I love about your podcast and going through this type of webinar is that's the one question I know you're going to ask coming into it, and you can't get it down to just one, right? And I thought a lot about it. I did lose sleep about it, had an extra cup of coffee and getting through it. But a couple of things kind of come to play. And then you've got to be a little bit unique and different than your other guests that have talked about scale.
Sure.
But the first thing that jumped out at me was think big and go big and think about growth, right? And I think most people, when you think about scale, they immediately go to back office. They think of efficiency. How do I get a repeatable process? And that's natural, I think, to the thought process. And that's really why we love our relationship with LibertyFi, because you've been able to offer that to the advisors so they have relentless focus on their core value proposition. But I started to think about scale differently. And I thought for ourselves, you have to challenge yourself in your current value proposition. Focus on what you want to be and not who you are today is a really important thing as a startup. Well, I say a startup, we've been at this now for a full year. We've launched the platform earlier this year, but at no point can you ever be comfortable with where you're at. You have to think really carefully. You have to listen really carefully to your clients. And I think within our planning approach, the more you listen to really what your clients are really worried about as end investors and as a financial advisor, the answer is right in front of us to think about how we address scale. So at the end of the day, you think big, you go big, you try to grow, and ultimately you've got to hire great partners to help remove those friction points. So for advisors working with LibertyFi, we've already got a couple that are already engaged with Trucendent today because they've been able to be freed up from their back office that you guys have been able to handle in the middle office and providing great consultation. They've been able to focus in on how to incorporate this into their business for planning. So scale, they think about it. I don't think that they worry as much as the average advisor that is trying to do it themselves because they found great employees, great partners like yourselves, and that's what we endeavor to be.
Yeah, I love that the firms that we're working with, they really are able to look at other options, right? Being able to kind of focus on that holistic approach from investments to trust services to lending to planning. And so we've really found great success. But I will say, to your point, when I think of John Yackel, I think of think big, go big. So I am excited to see what Trucendent does in this space because I know it's going to be big. I really appreciate you coming on today. I know our advisors are going to learn from this. I hope they really everyone out there really latches on to the generational wealth transfer that's going to be happening. So again, thank you so much for the time. And I look forward to talking to you soon.
Absolutely, Allie. Thanks for everything. As always, great partnership, great content, and happy to help in any way and look forward to seeing the growth you guys continue to have.
Thanks, John. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next Secrets to Scale.